Welcome to Discovery and welcome to another episode of Discovery. We have 6 albums for you to check out this week. Basically my recommendations. Now, there are no bad albums this week, a solid fortnight for metal, and these are the 6 albums that I absolutely really enjoyed. In case you don't know, Discovery is a way to discover new music, and these are the bands that I feel need to be talked about. So let's kick off with the first band, and it is Trident and the album North. Fucking take a look at that album cover. It's absolutely fantastic. Looks like something out of Bathory. Doesn't sound like Bathory. No, it doesn't, but it is a black metal album. Incorporate elements of really awesome guitar work along with nice tremolo moments. The drums are absolutely fantastic, incorporating this really atmospheric vibe. I love the build up and the introduction which is entered that leads onto such a heavy and hard hitting black metal song called Death. His vocals are very different. This is a black metal album, but they incorporate elements of death metal, so it's more like a black and death metal album. The vocals are absolutely fantastic. Really love the overall chord progression as well throughout this album, and it's got a really strong dynamic feel. It really reminds me of bands such as times as Dissection or even at times such as Emperor. The vocals really nail the atmospheric vibe on this album. Really awesome songs like Summoning along with Paul Berry's Hymn. I just love how different this album is. At times it's quite atmospheric, it incorporates some few synth elements, so at times it does feel like a symphonic black metal album. At times it does really remind me of bands such as The Summoning as well, incorporating the orchestral feel throughout some of these songs. But overall, this album is absolutely a banger and I really fucking enjoyed it. But is it the best black metal album of the year? Fuck no, it isn't. This is a pretty good album overall, very tight and cohesive. The drumming is absolutely fantastic and the production is raw in tone, but it's got that modern feel black metal production. Of course it doesn't sound as raw as Paysage, The Heaver, or even fucking Megcognition, Spectral Law. It doesn't sound anything like that. But it's still got a crispier production, but it also holds to that raw tone. Trident North, a 7.5 out of 10. So, the next band is Necrophobic and the album Dawn of the Damned. This album is very impressive, incorporate elements of black metal. It's another black metal album, but it's more of sort of a black and death metal album, I could say. The vocals are absolutely intense. I really love the guitar work throughout this album and more of a symphonic vibe. Get amazing songs like The Infernal Depths of Eternity, which is one of my favorite songs off the album. It's quite epic, it's quite majestic, but fuck me, it really packs a punch. This album is pretty cohesive and it's quite free flowing and is indeed one of my favorite albums of October so far. Really enjoyed this album, thought this was an absolute banger. The production on the other hand again is quite modern and crisp, and I do love the overall lavishing guitar moments. Really nice chord progression as well, especially through the song Darkness Be My Guide. His vocals are intense as anything, incorporate elements of black metal along with death metal vocals. The vocals really harmonize with each other as well to create this epic feeling. The drums are to be commended on this album with some really intricate moments and quite proggy moments. Take in instance of The Infernal Depths of Eternity, where it has some really nice synth elements throughout this song that creates this melody that is quite fucking infectious. Devil's Spawn Attack is overall a really interesting song overall, definitely the most different Necrophobic song I've heard, but it still packs a punch. They got Shadows as the Fire Burn, and this album will get a good score by me. It's a fucking 8 out of 10. Really enjoyable album. It's out now through Century Media Records. Check it out. Next album is Dysylumn and the album Cosmogonie, or whatever you fucking want to call it, but this album is a black metal album through and through. It's a very spacey black metal album with some very different moments. These songs are average around about 8 minutes, but by god damn it, it is an absolute adventure. Really nice guitar moments along with a very ethereal feel. This album really flows like water. It feels like every single song blends into each other. You got the intro, which is very spacey, feels like you're out in the open as you try to find the light at the end of the tunnel. Then you got Apparition 1 to 3, then Dispersion 1 to 3, Interlude Extinction 1 to 3 as well, and then you got the outro. These songs are really ambient in tone. Love his vocals. His vocals are very aggressive and raw, incorporates high shrieks along with death metal growls. It's an atmospheric black metal album, but it's more progressive with some really intricate time signatures. My favorite being is Apparition 3. I love how different that song is. The drumming is absolutely fantastic. The blast beats are fucking insane. But of course there are intricacy moments with the drums as well. Running over an hour and 20 minutes, it's still got a lot of fucking punch, and it will hit you in the guts. It will hit you in the guts until you spew your dinner out. That's how impactful this album is. It's got a really tight structure as well. And overall, it's a solid album. So again, nothing bad I can say about this album. But my god, it is an 8 out of 10. The reason why it's a little bit lower is because there are much more better black metal albums like Adraza, Necrophobic, and like it still isn't as good as the other greater black metal albums we've had this year, but it's an 8 out of 10 and it's an absolute fucking banger. So if you love black metal, check out Dysylumn. Okay, so next up is Hexer and the album Realm of the Feathered Serpent. This album really took me by surprise. It was released this week and my god, it is a very different album. Now, this is more of a black metal, doom metal albums, but they incorporate more black metal moments on this album. But they also put droning moments as well and quite atmospheric and ethereal moments. Really did enjoy this album. Thought this was really fun. These songs average about 5 to 6 minutes, and Ethereal Blitz is an absolute banger. I love how doomy it is. More of a death doom song, but his vocals on the other hand transition from black metal to doom to death doom vocals, along with death metal vocals as well. Love the growls, love his high shrieks. It's overall really different album, and it's very unique. This is indeed going to be in my top 10 albums of October because I fucking well enjoyed it. And I love how every time you listen to this fucking album, you just hear something new. A lot of organic moments on this album, a lot of symphonic moments as well to make it quite epic. This is combining doom, black metal, and death metal into one. It is a black and death doom album, you could say. It's absolutely fantastic. Of course, there are fucking fast moments on this album as well, but my god, it packs a punch, this fucking album. It's an absolute banger, being Miasmic, which is a beautiful instrumental that stretches onto Celestial War Command, and I just love the build-up of the song towards the next song, and it just flows like water, this album. The end off is Typhon, which is an absolute fantastic song overall. The drumming is magnificent. I love the intricate moments on this album. The guitar moments are fantastic as well. It's a really awesome album. But of course, there are some moments where this album does seem lackluster. The moments it feels lackluster is sometimes the production. The production isn't that fucking great. And if the production was just a little bit better, with the balancing moments and the balancing instrumentals, I would have given this album just slightly a little bit more praise. But nah man, it gets a 7 out of 10 just because the overall production is a bit lackluster, but overall songwriting is really good. Awesome moments on this album, quite predictable at times, but also some unpredictable moments. And if you love black and death doom, corporate elements of funeral doom and black metal, you're gonna fucking well enjoy this because it is a very different album by any other band I've heard this year. Hexer gets a 7 out of 10. Okay, so one album that really took me by surprise was Spirit Adrift and the album Enlightened in Eternity. This is a heavy metal album, but gather inspiration from Judas Priest, fucking Iron Maiden, and even Candlemass at times, because this is a heavy metal album incorporating elements of doom along with some very interesting moments, and it's quite thrashy as well. His vocals are very dynamic in range. He got these gnarly snarls as well, along with some really clean angelic vocals. This album really took me by surprise, to be honest. To kick off the album, get right into Light, which is very fast and energetic and hard hitting. The guitar tone is absolutely fantastic. You get some really nice guitar solos as well throughout this album, and the drumming is immaculate. Some really nice drum fills. This album is a pretty steady album. album. It's quite a fun album. It's quite a fun album to bob your head along. But I just feel that some of these songs do drag on just a little, because there are some really intricate moments on this album and some really awesome ideas, but I just feel they don't execute it that well, especially on songs like Harmony of the Spheres, Battle High, and Stronger Than Your Pain. It kind of lacks, kind of drags, but overall my favorite song on the album would be Reunited in the Void. It's much more doomier song, very inspired by Candlemass as well. The vocals are fantastic, and this album is an absolute banger. It really is. It's a very fun album, it's a very enjoyable album, but there are some lackluster moments, like the mid part of the album that doesn't really gravitate towards me. I've heard this album a few times now, and of course I really love the start of the album, but again the middle part of the album just drags slightly, and it just feels like they sort of run out of ideas. Same predictable moments, but you get Reunited in the Void, which really redeems the whole entire album by itself. And the vocals are really good, using many different genres such as instrumental death metal and black metal as well, with the drumming and the guitar work. It's really awesome. This is a very modern day heavy metal album. I'll tell you what, the production on this album is absolutely fantastic. Some really nice moments on this album. I really enjoyed it. I'll give this a 7.5 out of 10. And finally, last album and the main event of Discovery this week is Benediction and the album Scriptures. Now, a lot of people have been excited about this. The anticipation was building as Benediction was releasing singles, and my god, was I impressed with this album? Fuck yes, I was. The vocals, on the other hand, aren't as great as some other Benediction albums. I just feel that the vocals are a bit lackluster on this album, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The vocals are quite demonic at times, and his growls are really impressive. But yeah, it doesn't hold true to some other death metal albums like Necrophobic and even Skeletal Remains, and even Carnation. Vocal performance on those albums have just been absolutely fantastic. That's alright, because it's been 12 years since Benediction released their last album. The last album was absolutely fantastic as well. So I checked out this album though, holy shit, I was impressed, I really was. Some actually killer songs, some really melodic moments on this album, some really catchy guitar riffs. I would just question, what the fuck am I listening to? Like, what is this? This has an awesome groove. Iterations of I, fucking Scriptures in Scarlet, Stormcrow, some really interesting songs like Rabid Canality, which has some awesome moments and really nice guitar moments. And the drumming on this is absolutely fantastic, incorporating elements of the blast beats along with some really nice drum fills. It's definitely one of the best sounding death metal albums, you could say. This is a death metal album, by the way, but fuck, it is a very fun death metal album. It's definitely making my end of month list for sure, because I just love how fun and uplifting this album is. But of course, there are some moments, like I said, the vocal performance isn't that great, to be honest, but fuck, it's not as bad as Chris Barnes' vocals. No, not as bad as that. But his vocals are slightly deteriorating in my opinion, because there are better death metal vocalists out there, like the vocalists from Necro, and even Skeletal Remains, and even fucking Carnation, and even Death Curia. Just so many better death metal vocalists out there now. Benediction Scriptures' main purpose was to really try not to stop your head from banging. Awesome moments on this album. Yeah, so this gets an 8.5 out of 10. Such an enjoyable album, it really was, and I fucking well enjoyed it. So guys, that's it for Discovery, so join me in a fortnight as I will give you another 6 albums that you may or may not like. So do you agree or disagree with my opinions? And I will see you in the next one.